We are studying the topic control and coordination. Under control, we have studied about the nervous control. In nervous control, we have studied that how the brain and spinal cord along with peripheral nervous system and the autonomous nervous system controls all body organs. In case of multicellular organisms, this control can control the body organs, but coordination is also required. And for coordination, a system is there, a system of endocrine gland is there, which can coordinate the activities of various organs. So, control, which includes nervous system, and coordination, which includes endocrine system, can coordinate the activities of the body regularly. So in this topic, in this lecture now, we are going to study with chemical coordination. See, cells and organisms can communicate with each other through chemical signals. What are these chemical signals? These chemical signals are classified into 4 types, and these 4 types of chemical signals are autocrines, paracrines, endocrines and pheromones. What are autocrines? These autocrines are the secretion which will stimulate the cell itself. That means secreted by the cell and will control the same cell only. These secretions are called as autocrines. What's the meaning of paracrines? These paracrines are secreted by the cell and it stimulate the neighboring cells. So neighboring cells, when they get stimulated by a secretion, that secretion will become paracrines. What's the meaning of term endocrine? These endocrines, they secrete the secretion which is called as hormone, and this hormone, they stimulate the distant organs. That means which are situated in the surrounding. So endocrine will act on distant organs. And last one is called as pheromones. These pheromones are secreted by the organ and it will stimulate the other organism. That means 2 different bodies are there. For example, in case of insect, these pheromones means the sex hormones. For attraction of females towards the males, it is secreted by the insects. So, pheromones released by one organism and it will stimulate the other organism. So, this is about the 4 types of chemical coordination. Now, we will see the next one, next slide, which includes endocrine system. And this endocrine system, as already told you, it includes many of the glands, many of the endocrine glands which secretes hormone. We are going to see about the properties of hormones. Can be asked for 2 marks. First of all, these hormones are called as chemical messengers, as they are chemical in nature and carry the messages from one place to the another. These are called as chemical messengers. Second point, they are effective in very low concentration. That means a small amount of hormones are required for their effects. So they are effective in very low concentration and they are secreted by the gland also in very low secretion, in very low concentration. Remember that a rate of production is very low to high depending upon the nature and intensity of stimulus. That means what kind of stimulus is there, what is the requirement of its hormone. So depending upon its requirement, depending upon its intensity, this production may be very low or it may be high. As before it was explained, these hormones are produced in one organ and they show their effect on distant organ which is called as target organ. We'll take an example here. one of the hormone called as thyroid stimulating hormone, that is TSH. It is produced by pituitary gland, which lies in the region of brain, and it acts on thyroid gland, which is situated in the region of neck. So in that way, these hormones are produced in one organ and they are acting on other organ, which are called as distant organs. Next property of the hormone is they are carried through blood. Remember that hormones are secreted by the gland. They are released into the blood capillaries, and from these blood capillaries they will be transferred up to the distant organs, up to the target organ. One more important property, that is hormone functions as regulators. That means they regulate the activity of organ by what? By either inhibiting or by stimulating or by modifying the process of distant organ. So these are regulators. Like chemical messengers, we can also say that hormones are regulators. They are metabolized after their function, thus cannot be reused. Remember that hormones, once they are released, will be utilized, and hence they cannot be reused. This is also one of the important feature, that is they have high degree of target specificity. That means particular type of hormone will act on particular gland only. For example, as I said, thyroid stimulating hormone TSH can act on thyroid gland only and not on any other gland. So they have target specificity. They modify some aspect of cellular metabolism. They bring about modification in cellular metabolism, and accordingly, as before it was explained, they inhibit or they stimulate the function of that body organ. Last point, hyper or hypersecretion leads to serious disorder. What's the meaning of hyper? Hyper means more. And what's the meaning of hypo? Means less. So either hyperactivity, that means more secretion of the gland, or hyposecretion, that means less secretion of the gland, may lead to serious disorders. Remember that endocrine disorders are long lasting. They cannot be cured very fast. So this hypo or hypersecretion leads to the changes, metabolic changes, or some disfigurement in the body takes place, which cannot be cured very fastly. In comparison to the neural action are very much fast, as they are the electrical signals, they are very much fast, and they can be, that means we can say it can be vanished off very fastly. So that is the difference between this neural and chemical coordination. Now we are going to see about the various endocrine glands found in the body. List of 11 glands are there, and we have to study them one by one with their secretion, their position, and what are their hypo and hypersecretion. Okay, so first one is the pituitary gland, second thyroid, third parathyroid, fourth is thymus, fifth is adrenal, sixth is pancreas, seventh one is called as gonad. Gonads are testes and ovary. Testes in case of males, ovaries in case of females. Next one, heart, kidney. These are the organs also worked as endocrine gland. Next one is GIT. GIT is for gastrointestinal tract. This is for gastrointestinal tract. And last one is hypothalamus. We are going to study them one by one. We'll see the first one, that is pituitary gland, which is also called as hypophysis, where it lies. We'll see the position diagrammatically first. Now see, this is the position of pituitary gland, what it shows. In the previous lectures, we have studied about the position of brain. As you know, this brain, it lies in this cranium region. So this is the position of brain. This purple colored structure where the cursor is moving is for cerebrum. This lower part of the brain, for the pituitary we have to observe brain from this lower region which is called as ventral region. So this pituitary lies towards the ventral aspect of the brain. So it lies ventral to the brain and just below the hypothalamus. We have studied about the position of brain, this detailed structure of brain also. If you remember, forebrain consists of three parts: olfactory lobe, this second one cerebrum, and this is for the diencephalon. This diencephalon consists of epithalamus, this thalamus region, and this is the hypothalamus region. From this region of hypothalamus, this pituitary arises. So we can say that position of pituitary gland, it is situated towards the ventral side and it arises from this hypothalamus of the brain. And because of that, we can say that this hypothalamus is the junction of neural and endocrine system. So we have seen about the position of brain can be asked for 1 marks. So here it lies to ventral aspect of brain in the cavity which is called as sella turcica or Turkish sella, and this cavity is found in sphenoid bone of skull. I think you remember that last year we have studied that cranium is made up of 8 bones: frontal, parietals, occipital. So frontal bones which forms the forehead, parietal forms the top, occipital forms the back, temporal forms the lateral side, and sphenoid bone is situated towards the floor. So in this sphenoid bone, a depression is formed. That depression is called as sella turcica or Turkish sella, where the pituitary lies. Diagrammatically we will see here. You can see that this is the frontal bone, this upper are parietal, this back is occipital. Here the bone present will be the temporal, and towards the base the bone present is sphenoid. So here in the sphenoid bone cavity present sella turcica, where the pituitary lies. Okay, so this is about detailed position of pituitary gland. Now we have to see origin. This pituitary gland, it has dual origin, means double origin. This double origin, that means 2 parts of the pituitary gland arises from 2 different structures. So what are these 2 different parts of the pituitary gland? One is called as adenohypophysis and second one is called as neurohypophysis. So this adenohypophysis, it originates from embryonic buccal cavity. What is this buccal cavity? Buccal cavity means the mouth cavity. So from this buccal cavity or from the mouth cavity, one of the outgrowth comes out. This outgrowth is called as Rathke's pouch. As you know that this buccal cavity is epithelial in nature, that means it consists of epithelial tissue. So we can say that adenohypophysis is also epithelial in nature. So the first part, adenohypophysis, also called as anterior lobe, it originates from embryonic buccal cavity and it is epithelial in nature. Second part, neurohypophysis. This neurohypophysis, it originates from hypothalamus of the brain. What is hypothalamus? We have studied hypothalamus is the part of forebrain. So neurohypophysis or posterior lobe originates from hypothalamus of the brain, and hypothalamus is the part of nervous system. Hence neurohypophysis consists of nervous tissue. We can say that neurohypophysis is nervous in nature. So this pituitary gland, it consists of double origin or it consists of dual origin. Origin of the pituitary can also be asked for 2 marks. Later on we are going to study about the next part of the pituitary, that is anatomical structure of pituitary. What's the meaning of anatomical? It is internal structure of pituitary. As we have studied before, adenohypophysis consists of 2 parts. The pituitary consists of 2 parts. The first one is called as adenohypophysis and second one is called as neurohypophysis. So this is the first part, adenohypophysis, second part, neurohypophysis. This adenohypophysis is cellular and vascular part. Cellular because of presence of epithelial cells and vascular for presence of large number of blood vessels. As I said, it consists of various type of cells which are epithelial in nature, and these epithelial cells are secretory in nature, and these three types of cells are acidophils, basophils and chromatophores. Then this adenohypophysis is divided into three parts: pars distalis, pars intermedia and pars tuberalis. Its second part, neurohypophysis, which develops from hypothalamus of the brain, consists of median eminence, infundibulum and pars nervosa. So see, this structure, anatomical structure of pituitary can be asked for 2 marks. Now we will see this diagrammatically. This is the diagram in front of you for longitudinal section. Actually, it is not a longitudinal section, it is the anatomical structure of pituitary gland. We have seen before, adenohypophysis consists of 3 parts. Means the anterior lobe consists of 3 parts. Its first part is called as pars nervosa. So this pink colored structure which is seen, it is pars distalis, not nervosa. This is the pars distalis. It is the first part of adenohypophysis or the anterior lobe. Here this part, this snake-like structure is called as pars tuberalis. This is pars tuberalis, snake-like structure, and this median part which separates the pars distalis from pars nervosa, it is called as pars intermedia. Okay, so these are the 3 parts of adenohypophysis. I'll repeat. This is pars distalis. This is pars tuberalis. This collar-like structure is seen. You can see this pink color structure from this side, and this is from that side. So this is the pars tuberalis region, and in between pars distalis and pars nervosa, the structure present will become pars intermedia. These are the 3 parts of adenohypophysis. We will see about neurohypophysis. 3 parts of neurohypophysis are, this structure, this much part is for the pars nervosa. This is pars nervosa. Its second part is called as median eminence, this part. This is downward projection of hypothalamus. It is called as median eminence. And this region is called as hypothalamus, which is the part of brain. So hypothalamus, median eminence. This stalk-like structure is called as infundibulum, and this will become the pars nervosa, are the parts of neurohypophysis. So this is for anatomical structure of this pituitary gland. Anatomical structure diagram can be asked for 3 marks. Okay, now we have to see the different secretions. We have to study about the secretions of adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Now, once again, these 3 parts of the adenohypophysis and 3 parts of the neurohypophysis are here. As explained before, distalis consists of epithelial cells which surrounds the sinusoids. That means these epithelial cells are present around the sinusoids. What's the meaning of sinusoids? These are the spaces which are filled with blood. That means some spaces are there. In the vicinity, in the surrounding, there will be epithelial cells, and these spaces will be filled with blood. Remember that from adenohypophysis, this pars distalis is the major secretory structure, major secretory part of adenohypophysis. What is this tuberalis? It forms a collar-like structure around infundibulum, and its function is still unknown. Third region is called as intermedia. It is situated between pars distalis and pars nervosa, cleft-like structure. Remember, vestigial in human being but developed in lower vertebrates where it secrete MSH, that is melanocyte stimulating hormone, which is responsible for skin pigmentation. Second part is called as neurohypophysis. having median eminence. It is the median soleon part of the hypothalamus to which infundibulum is attached. It was shown in the diagram before. Second part is called as infundibulum. It is a stalk-like structure by which pituitary is attached to the hypothalamus, and last one is pars nervosa. This pars nervosa, it consists of axonic fibers in between the pituocytes, and axonic fibers ends in a knob-like structure which is called as Herring's bodies. So what are this structure found in the nervosa region? In this diagram, see, this is the region of hypothalamus. This is hypothalamus, and these are the neurons, nerve cells, which are called as neurosecretory cells. Here it is written neurons that synthesize posterior pituitary hormones, and these neurons secrete hypothalamic releasing hormone. What are these? See, these neurosecretory cells, simply the neurons which are secretory in nature, and these are the axons coming out from these cells. So this axon, they move up to the pars nervosa region, and here they ends into the swellings. These swellings are called as Herring's bodies. Okay, so neurosecretory cells are found in the region of hypothalamus, from where the axon originate, and this axon, they terminate into the Herring's bodies in the region of in the region of pars nervosa here. So the secretion of these neurosecretory cells in the region of hypothalamus, this secretion will move through the axonic fibers and it ends into this Herring's bodies. So they are stored here in the Herring's bodies, and whenever it is required, they are released into the blood capillaries, and from there it will reach to the target organs. So this is for the neurosecretory cells found in the region of hypothalamus. So which parts are secretory in the pituitary gland? See, from this region, from the region of adenohypophysis, from the anterior lobe, this pars distalis, their epithelial cells are secretory in nature and secretes the hormones. This pars intermedia is vestigial in case of human beings, but it is active in case of lower vertebrates where it secretes melanocyte stimulating hormone. Now this second part, it is neurohypophysis. From the neurohypophysis, only these neurosecretory cells are secretory in nature. That means hormones of this posterior lobe is secreted by these cells which are found in the region of hypothalamus. Okay, so this is about the structure of pituitary gland. We have to study what are their secretions. We'll see a diagram for that also. See, this is the diagram for the secretion of the hormones which are secreted by anterior lobe and posterior lobe. Here in this diagram, this is the structure of pituitary gland. Okay, so here pituitary gland, as we have studied, this is the posterior lobe shown here, and this is the anterior or adenohypophysis. This adenohypophysis, it secretes one of the hormone. Here it is written GH for growth hormone. Second is ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Third is TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone. This FSH and LH, they are the gonadotropins. Why they are called as gonadotropins? Because they act on gonads. That means they act on testes and ovaries. So it is shown two times, FSH and LH acting on testes, FSH and LH acting on ovaries. Okay, so these hormones, one more is there, prolactin, which act on mammary glands, or it act on breast. So these are the hormones 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the fifth one secreted by anterior pituitary. And which are the hormones secreted by posterior pituitary? This is the posterior pituitary or neurohypophysis. It secretes three hormones. One is oxytocin, which act on uterus, as well as it acts on mammary glands. Second hormone shown over here is antidiuretic hormone, which is also called as vasopressin, which act on kidneys. One more hormone is secreted by posterior pituitary, not shown here, which is called as coherine. So remember, 5 hormones are secreted by anterior pituitary and 3 hormones are secreted by posterior pituitary. This diagram is a very good diagram. Why? Because it shows their target organs. That means growth hormone act on muscles and bones. This ACTH act on the adrenal gland, cortex of the adrenal gland. TSH act on thyroid gland. FSH and LH act on testes. They also act on ovaries. And this prolactin, it act on breast, it act on mammary glands. Now see this posterior pituitary, their hormones, oxytocin act on uterus and it act on this mammary gland or on the breast also. This antidiuretic hormone or ADH, which is also called as vasopressin, it act on kidney. So their target organs are fixed. As we have seen that hormones are target specific. That means they act on particular organs only. So these are the target organs, and what are the functions of these different hormones we are going to study in the next lecture.